Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all. So, with the mission to change the face of digital learning, today we have a prestigious annual academic event, which is International Igniting Minds Lecture Series 2020. So, Jagran School of Visual Arts and Design, under the Faculty of Journalism and Creative Studies, prioritizes the pursuit of bold vision of influencing and impacting how the world connects today and tomorrow. Our uniquely interdisciplinary hub, like you all know, is blended with a lot of variety of fields, experiential learning, innovation, and technology. Our vision is to aid the international collaboration and the exposure for the students. This academic event is driven by some of the well-known faculties and industry experts across the globe in various fields around the university. So, with this thought, today we have Ms. Ananya Khare as our guest speaker for the event, and I would like to introduce you all to our guest speaker. So, Ananya Khare is a design educator and strategist. She is a design researcher with a keen interest in design for social innovation. She has completed her bachelor's from National Institute of Fashion Technology, Bhopal, and went ahead to do her master's in design, which is from Victoria University of Wellington, New Zealand. And she has researched and developed vetiver grass fabric, paralleling the transition design framework through indigenous knowledge and addressing wicked problems. Um, she also teaches as at design innovation at Victoria University of Wellington, along with working as a research analyst for Code Clouds in New Zealand. Her passion lies in integrating the firm disciplines of systems thinking and human centered design to give effect to the mediation of large scale of social change. So I welcome you, Ananya, and we are all excited to hear your story and your experience in the field of human centered design, design innovation, and social changes, and as well as innovation.
Thank you so much. That was such a lovely welcome. Um, do you mind if I just directly go to my slides and then I can introduce
Yeah, no problem.
What I do further? Are you guys able to see the screen? Is it working fine?
Yes.
And can you hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. And I am equally excited to do this talk. And I hope we come up with some good conversations throughout. And to begin with, I want to put this thing out there that this is not a lecture. This is a talk that I want to have with you guys. So if you have something to ask or something to discuss, go for it. Talk to me. Before I move on to transition design and sustainable futures, and we talk about all the things that are happening in the world right now, I want to introduce you with some of my work and how I got influenced to study sustainable fashion, sustainable futures, and transition design. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of this place, Ujjain. I am guessing most of you must have. It's near Bhopal, and they have this small little town within the city called Bhairugarh, and they do batik work there. It's a very small community of about 200 families or so. And I had the privilege, when I was studying at NIFT, I had the privilege to go there and live with them for 15 days and work on a project. That was the time when I realized that design could be something more than making beautiful things or objects. It could mean something to humans. It could have feelings, emotions attached to it. And when I was working with these guys, we would work all day, and then for lunch we would just sit on the ground and eat their dabbas, and they would share their dabbas with all of us. And it was such a seamless, beautiful process of students working with these artisans, and we became friends. But at the same time, you can't help yourself and notice that how are we able to study in a institution like NIFT, and be able to stay in a hotel in the city, and how are these guys not being able to do a lot of those things? How are we telling them how to design when those are the real people who are making these things? For example, the collection that you see right now is designed by me but made by them. So who's really the maker? Who's really the designer? Can you tell? It's my name, but did I really design it? Did I really make it? It's a collaborative effort where often the collaboration or the credit does not go to everyone who works. And that got me thinking that how can design or design thinking change that, or make the collaboration more effective to all the parties involved. And so I moved on to do my master's in design for social innovation, which happened. It was I was lucky to be able to come to New Zealand, and I had found this amazing professor who was ready to do this research paper with me, and this is what I worked on. I made fabric from a grass called vetiver. You all must know the Hindi name for this, which is khar. And the fabric is basically made out of khas leaves. And the idea is to be able to provide work to these small communities around India and New Zealand so that they can make their own fabric, sell it, and create a sustainable circular economy for themselves. However, the model of this thesis is also based on Bhopal Central Jail and how the people who are in the jail, prisoners, can use the technique of making the fabric and then work their way up and work for themselves. And this is one of the pictures of all the process that I could do. I can't explain all of this to you guys in one lecture, but this is roughly what it looks like. Cool. So you can tell I love sustainability and I love talking about it. And I think this is such a big buzzword because everyone is using it. But what is sustainability? What would it mean to you? Because I know a lot of you are from media, from journalism, from cinema, and all of these different backgrounds. So why are you even here listening to me talk about design? But when you think or when you talk about design, it is an application, it's a tool rather than a stream. You can use this tool in whatever workforce you are in or whatever is your passion. To be able to do that, I want you guys. Is it okay if we play a little game? Is everyone up for it?
Yeah, it's completely okay. And we have a lot of interactive students, so they are all ready to interact. So they are also into like we have bachelors of design, new students who are very keen towards working and interacting in different manners. So you are completely free to go ahead.
Awesome, awesome. I want you guys to look for Mentimeter on your phone. Just type Mentimeter on Google and there would be an option of just a second. I'm also new with this Zoom thing and I'm trying to figure out how to minimize my screen.
I will also share the Mentimeter link on chat so that it's easier for them.
That would be great. All right. Did you guys get it? It would look something like this.
Yeah, Akshita shared the link.
You just have to go to Mentimeter, join a presentation.
Okay.
All right. Once you are in there, you can use this code. There would be an option to type a code, and I want you guys to type this. 4246550. Once you're in there, there would be a question, which is, what does sustainable futures mean to you? And you can write 3 words or phrases what you think as sustainable future, or it doesn't have to be related to design. It could be anything that comes to your mind when you think of the word or the phrase sustainable future or sustainability. And then you can submit your answer. Technology, environment, earth. More answers coming? Tech with empathy, technology, symbiotic, environment, coexist, earth, environment, earth. Better future. Anybody else ready to answer? 6. Earth, environment. Doing what I love. Fair enough. Ability of future, brighter future, conserve. So you can see that earth and environment is one of the things that I guess we all are agreeing on as a form of sustainable future. Compromising their ability where people can meet. Yes. Human-centered, concern. All right. Take your time, and you can keep on answering and keep on adding answers to these. We can move forward till then. So, why are we having this conversation, and why you guys, and why me? Because sustainability doesn't have to be limited to certain kind of people or certain streams in work field. All of us have somewhere, most of you have sort of agreed that earth and environment is at the center of this talk about sustainability. And when you must be answering that question, there are things that you must have come to your mind which you relate to your personal life experiences. At some point, all of us, especially during this time of this pandemic, we all must have felt the need to just go out and feel the fresh air, which is not readily available anymore. So, how do we move forward from here? What can we do? Who are we? Where do we go? Where do we find this buzzword called sustainability in our lives? The I know this doesn't make sense to you right now, but we'll go through it slowly. There are three pillars that work around sustainability or involved in general. Either you are a business owner, or you work for somebody, or you are an innovator, or you are an entrepreneur, or you teach, you're a student. It's most of the lives revolve around people, planet, and profit in current times. When people and when we work on something, when we design something, innovate something, go to office, work on something, when it's about people plus planet, it's bearable. When it's about people plus profit, it's equitable. When it's about planet plus profit, it's viable. But when it's about all these three pillars, it is sustainable. You cannot leave any of these pillars alone. The moment we do that, the moment we start choosing from the options, we move further away from sustainability. And it's kind of obvious why the pandemic is there and where we are at in the current times in 2020, that our main focus is not planet. It's somewhere between profit and people, and which is very viable. It's easy to do that, but we're losing on planet, and that might not be sustainable. So what can we do? Who are we? How can we help this massive situation, and where do we fit in the scenario? There's this philosopher designer named Tim Curtis, and he said that there are so many things that we know, and then there are so many things that we don't know. Now, this might sound very philosophical and like a poetry, but it's very simple. We know things, we don't know things. We know about things that we don't know, and we know about things that we know that we don't know. Make sense? No, of course it doesn't. It's called the matrix of awareness. It's doesn't have to be applied when you're studying or when you're writing or when you're designing. It works in every single thing in your life. You're having a conversation with your friend, you're stuck about the conversation. You're having an argument with your friend, you're having an argument with your parents, your siblings, be it anything in your life. There are things that you know that you know. So I know that I know this. The things that you're aware that you know. And then there are things that you're not aware that you know. And then there are knowns that are unknown to you. And which, is it too complicated? Just tell me. If it's getting too complicated, we can slow it down and understand it in as easy words as possible. In it, right now, what we understand of sustainability and the ability to be able to achieve sustainability comes under unknowns unknown. We don't know what sustainability is completely, which is why we don't know how to achieve it or what is there. And once we start figuring out our knowns and unknowns, we move forward for a collaborative change. Because let's say me and Akshita are talking about one topic, be it doors. We're talking about doors. We want to design new doors. There are few knowns about doors that I know. There are few things that I there are a few things I'll share. When we work out our matrix of awareness, we both together learn that there are things that she doesn't know, and then there are things that I don't know, which each other might know. And that's how you collaborate and you work with the people who might know different things, but not the same thing as you. This leads to the question that what are we going to do with this information of known and unknown? What do we do? The answer to that is wicked problems. Most of the things around us are wicked problems. Sustainability, environment, this pandemic, there is no direct solution to it. Nobody knows what's happening in the world. What do we do? Where do we go from here? I can't, even though I'm doing this lecture series with you guys, I do not have the answer of any of this. And the only thing we all can dependent on and vouch for is collaboration and working together. So, wicked problems are interconnected problems which do not have one single solution to it. For example, water shortage. I can find the solution for water shortage for one particular city or a village. But while looking for that solution, I might find 10 different problems, let's say irrigation, electricity, which are all connected to it. But my solution to that water problem is might not be the solution to the electricity and irrigation. So to design forward or to invent forward, we need to address to these wicked problems that are around us, which do not have one single solution to it. And nobody knows the solution to these things. And that leads me to another question for you guys. What are wicked problems to you in your lives? I want you guys to take your time and think this personally.
Work from home.
I think students have a lot of wicked problems. So I think they will answer a lot now.
I'm glad. Don't we all? We all have so many wicked problems. All right, so the code is 6345747. And by the time you guys are answering that question, let's go and see. Very difficult problem is a wicked problem. I would appreciate or rather want you guys to name these wicked problems. My wicked problem is I can't wake up early, and there is no direct solution to it. Population, pollution, financial crisis, hunger. Caste system. I'm just going to have a look at the sustainable futures. Earth, environment, leaving something for future generation. That's amazing, you guys. You have given some amazing answers for sustainable futures. Gives me hope. Negativity, laziness, poverty, education.
Pratik, you want to say something?
More answers coming up, guys? Opening new colleges, water crisis. What's EIA? Privacy. Unfair politics. Bad internet connection. Good work, guys.
I think they're scared to tell their problems because the faculties are here. They have problems in terms of assignments.
Come on, guys, just write more problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see. Everybody from the first year.
Long hour of classes. Racism. Examination. Temper. Corruption. I'm still intrigued about what is EIA. But I completely understand if you don't want to tell your name and hence answer the question. Stereotypes. Community spread. Indian education system.
Oh my God.
Cleanliness. Gender discrimination. Education party. The doxa approach. Relatives. Fair enough. Patriarchy. Nepotism. Traffic. Do we still have traffic?
Yeah, now we have everything is opened up.
Oh no. Definitely a wicked problem. Noisy people. I feel you.
Virtual.
Equality. Do you want equality or equality itself is a wicked problem? Virtual classes. Interesting. I'm impressed, you guys. All right. So maybe all right, can I play the video? I hope it works, yeah.
This is the first
Can you
Apple
hear it?
computer mouse. It came with Apple's $10,000 Lisa computer, and it was designed by a product design consulting firm that would eventually become known as IDEO. The assignment was straightforward. They had to take the computer mouse, a $400 device at the time.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Before we begin the video, I just want to tell the video is about how do you solve problems like a designer.
This is the first Apple computer mouse. It came with Apple's $10,000 Lisa computer, and it was designed by a product design consulting firm that would eventually become known as IDEO. The assignment was straightforward. They had to take the computer mouse, a $400 device at the time, and bring it down to under $35, make it mass producible and reliable. And above all, it needed to be simple.
We control Lisa by pointing to these images on the screen with this unique item called a mouse.
Fast forward about 30 years, and IDEO doesn't really create products anymore. They've transitioned to designing networks and experiences, things like Los Angeles' voting system and the Red Cross's method for finding donors, even entire schools. So, what does making a computer mouse have to do with creating a school system from scratch? It turns out, quite a lot.
The world we live in is one where really the complex things are the things that are mostly broken, not the simple things. We have lots of great products, lots of beautiful products, lots of products we can use every day. Everything from furniture to tableware to consumer electronics. They're mostly pretty good, right? And yes, there's opportunity to do better and do more. But I'm interested in the things that don't work very well and the things that you can impact society with. And they're mostly the more complex things.
Back in 1971, a designer named Victor Papanek wrote a book called Design for the Real World. The premise was pretty simple. Creators could take some of the same design strategies from the creation of industrial products and use them to tackle problems like pollution and overcrowding and food shortages. By 2001, IDEO had done just that, pivoting from products to real-world experiences. But the design steps? Tim Brown says they stay just about the same.
The first piece is observing the world in order to ask an interesting question, right? I mean, and you can observe the world in lots of different ways. When we talk about human-centered design, we're really talking about observing the way humans live their lives and asking interesting questions about, hey, why does somebody do this and not that? Or why is somebody struggling with this problem? Why is it hard for somebody to open that, why are they struggling to open that jam jar lid? Well, so maybe I could redesign the jam jar lid, right? Or maybe I could give them a tool to help them, right? So why is this happening? So the first step is that looking at the world and coming up with a good question.
For making a mouse, that means watching how people use computers and observing what they want and what they don't. For designing a school, that meant spending a month in Peru, meeting with students and parents, teachers, investors, government and business leaders to address needs like academic planning, modular classroom space, accessible technology, and affordable tuition.
The next step is taking all the insights you have about those questions and starting to imagine ideas, like here's what I could do, here's what I might imagine doing better or differently. So that's what we often call ideation or idea making.
Then comes the fun part. You test it out.
Right at the beginning of the process, it might be a really simple cardboard model or a quick sketch, or if it's digital, it might be a quick digital simulation or something. And you try it out with people.
Sometimes those drafts can be pretty rough. The first prototype for the mouse was a roll-on deodorant stick and a butter dish from the Palo Alto Walgreens.
And you test it and see, and it doesn't work. Okay, so I need to rethink my idea, and I do it again, right? And this is where the iteration comes in, right? You learn from the prototype, you realize what's not working, or maybe it's a crummy idea, you have to go back and find a new idea again. And you go through that loop over and over again, asking the question, having ideas, prototyping, learning, and until you get to something that truly meets somebody's needs or a set of people's needs. Now, the last bit of the process, which arguably happens in that iteration also, is the storytelling piece, right? Because always you're trying to explain to people why your idea is interesting.
The computer for the rest of us.
I think what you need to design a complex system is not one brain, you need lots of brains. You need lots of brains with different perspectives, different creative contributions that they make, working together to get to an outcome that is literally rich enough and sophisticated enough to be able to behave like a system instead of being like an object.
So, what if I told you design thinking is a verb and not a noun? And we all can do it. It's an activity. And it doesn't matter if you're a designer or not. I keep saying this, I know, but it's such a fun thing to do. And when you start looking to design thinking as a tool, as a thing that you would play cards with your friends when you're getting bored, when you start thinking of design thinking in those terms, you seamlessly incorporate it in your lifestyle, and you start observing things and people and activities around you. And then you notice what you want to do, what is bothering you, what could be better, how can we look at this differently, do we need to look at this differently. So the easiest and the basic process of design thinking is to empathize, for which you need to observe. You need to observe every single thing that's happening around you. Learn who you're talking about, writing about, designing about. Talk to people. Just have conversations to people who are not like you, or you think who are different from you in whatever aspect that might be. Talk to them, understand where they come from, who they are. And then when you move towards your definition of design that you are working towards, define it out, define the differences, define your observations, and then brainstorm and ideate. We have often seen designs as one man thing, and those were the most popular ones. We see Bill Gates and who's that guy from Facebook? Mark Zuckerberg. And these are the people that we look forward to when we talk about innovators and designers. But at the same time, we forget that there is just so much indigenous wisdom and collaboration around us, which perhaps necessarily do not use these words as ideate or collaborate or sustainability, but all of this is there. And to be able to tap onto the grassroots of sustainability, innovation, you need to start observing these things. And then you move towards prototyping, where you make it. If you're writing a book, if you're writing an article, a piece of, if you're making a short film, if you're designing even a poster, start prototyping quickly rather than making the big things or the ideal design. Do it quickly, come up with as many ideas as you can, discuss it with people, and then move forward with those ideas, and then test. When you talk about your ideas to your friends, that is also a test. It doesn't need to be in a laboratory conditions, because design is more seamless when it's more human, when there is a human connection to it, when there are feelings involved. And you can, and this looks like a linear process, but it's not. You keep coming back to definition, ideation, prototyping, and it's a never ending process. You might find the perfect design or product or paper, but a month later, 6 months later, you will find something else. And that's because of you observing things around your life. Iteration is perhaps the core of design thinking. You need to keep on evolving. It cannot be stagnant. You need to build, test, learn, evolve. So there's also a fun thing called innovation matrix. And this is what you can use after the matrix of awareness. That's when you define or establish the things that you know and the things that you don't know. And then you move on to innovation matrix, which tells you about the things that are not defined. There are two aspects to it. First, you think of your problem and a domain. So let's say the domain is business and the problem is education. Then you work it out in your matrix that what is defined and what is not defined, within which you will find areas and segments where you would know what your basic research is, what could be your innovation, what could be a breakthrough innovation, what could be a disruptive innovation, and a sustaining innovation. The ideal form of innovation is sustaining innovation, which keeps on going. And for example, it's a bad example, but I guess everyone knows about it. There was a time when everyone in the world was using fidget spinners. Remember? It was a breakthrough innovation. It just sells so much. Everyone was using it. But where did that lead you to? Was there what was the way ahead of it? Apart from it being used for ADHD patients, there wasn't a lot of sustaining part of the innovation. People got bored of it really quickly. That's one example. And now you can think of multiple examples of innovation which come under these three sets of innovation. I want to introduce you guys to another framework which I have been working in my master's. And this has been life-changing to me, I think. It's quite personal to me in a lot of ways. And I think if seen as a tool of empathy, it can bring changes that perhaps you're not even sure of or know what changes. It's before I begin what transition is or what this framework does, I want to introduce you to the makers of this framework. That's Professor Terry Irwin, Gideon Kassoff, and Cameron Tonkinwise. And all three of them are professors of design, with Terry Irwin being the head of design in Carnegie Mellon University in America. And the framework, what does the word transition mean? I would simply call something that constantly keeps moving from one stage to another with the time, because time is transitioning. Every year something new happens, some big changes happens, and one set of design thinking or one stagnant method or process will be outdated in a while. So we need to keep evolving, especially as innovators, designers, makers. You guys are students, and you are the future. You would be doing things that we all would be looking forward to. To be able to do that, you need to keep on inventing and innovating yourself as well. This process involves 4 different stages, and we start with vision of transition. To be able to reach somewhere or create something new, you need to have a vision. You need to know what you're making, what you're talking about. For that, design thinking comes back in, which we went through. What do you want to invent? What is your innovation? What are you trying to make? What's your vision? Once you sort of have a hold of your vision, you move forward to theories of change. What are the methodologies? Who have already worked in those ideas? Has there any that's been done? Research about it. Research sounds like a boring thing to do, but think of it as you want to buy something online, because markets doesn't exist anymore, I guess, for most people. With the pandemic, you want to buy something, and if you want to buy it online, you would research to find the best deal possible, will you not? Think of your ideas in those sense. You want to do the best for it. How do you find the best deal? Who are the people who have written about it? And then you move to posture and mindset. To be able to create something new, you need to have a certain mindset, certain openness. You need to keep in mind that this might work and this might not work. You need to be open to new segments and new ideas which you might not have thought before, which leads you to new ways of designing. And you would be the person designing these new ways or new processes, which will get back to you to vision for transition. That is Is this what you wanted to do? Or is this something else? And this is a constant cycle that you'll keep on going back to. So where does wicked problem fit into all of this? Because at the end of the day, all of us, in whatever things we do, somewhere we are trying to find a solution for something which is big. For that, you use this matrix, which has lower system levels, primary level of problem definition, and higher system levels. Systems are just processes that you see around. For example, if you go to the bank, there are different sections, right? Those are your systems. That is what they do. There would be a section for loan, there would be a section for money transaction. These are your systems. Now, when you talk about a wicked problem, you have to keep the time in mind. Just one thing, time. How was it before? How is it now? How do you want it to look like? Within which you also have to think about how was it recently, like 100 years ago, 20 years ago, depends. Or if you're trying to work on something which has a longer time span, then you would think about how was it 500 years ago, how is it 100 years ago, how is it now, how do you want it to look like in 10 years, and how do you want it to look like in 50 years. When you lay your grounds around your wicked problem, the future that you see gives you the answer of what you want, and then you go back to design thinking again and find a solution around it. Sorry, I will try and not use design thinking anymore. I know you guys must have been enough of it. This must be tiring and annoying. But there's one last thing I want to show you before we move on to something else. This is not related to transition design or whatever we have talked about, but at the same time, it is related to it. It's a beautiful documentary which was made by a few designers and cinematographers together. It's about how design cinema can capture the essence of human beings in the most amazing way, which can change. It can just spark the conversation. Sometimes you don't need to make anything big. Sometimes you do not need to be the president of a country and bring about changes or become the Forbes 30 under 30 or whatever those things are. Sometimes you just need to spark debates and conversations among people you know.
We walked for days crossing the desert into Jordan. The week we left, my kite got stuck in a tree in our yard. I wonder if it is still there. I want it back. My name is Sidra. I am 12 years old. I am in the 5th grade. I am from Syria in the Dar'a province, Idkhil city. I have lived here in the Zatari camp in Jordan for the last year and a half. I have a big family, 3 brothers. One is a baby. He cries a lot. I asked my father if I cried when I was a baby, and he says I did not. I think I was a stronger baby than my brother. We like to keep our bags and books clean and without rips. It is like a game to see who has the nicest books with no faults in the pages. I like cloudy days. I feel like I am under a cover.
I'm sorry. I just want to mention that because this video was made for a 360 view, but because YouTube doesn't always have a 360 view. You are seeing it in a flat view, but that's where design element comes in case you're wondering.
Clean and without trips. It is like a game to see who has the nicest books with no faults in the pages. I like cloudy days. I feel like I am under a cover, like a blanket. Our teachers sometimes pick students who do not raise their hands to answer. So everybody raises their hand, even if they do not know the answer. But I do my homework and I know the answer if she calls on me. There is a bakery not far from school. The smell of bread on the walk to class drives us mad sometimes. Some kids don't go to school. They want to wait until we are back home in Syria. I think it is silly to wait. How will they remember anything? And there is nothing better to do here anyway. Computers give the boys something to do. They say they are playing games, but I don't know what they're doing because they won't let girls play on the computers. I don't understand computer games. Or boys. Many of the men say they exercise because they want to be strong for the journey home. But I think they just like how they look in the mirror. A lot of them make funny sounds when they lift the weights. Younger boys are not allowed in the gym, so they wrestle. Or they try to wrestle. Even after everything, boys still like to fight. We have to play football quickly because there are so many kids waiting to play. Especially now, unlike home, here in Zatari, girls can play football too. That makes us happy. My mother makes sure we are all together for dinner. I still love her food, even if she doesn't have the spices she used to. There are more kids in Zaatari than adults right now.
This might be long, and I'm sorry, we might not have the time to finish it up. But all I want to say is the story is about a little girl and how she sees things around her. That's it. You don't have to think a lot when creating something. It's about those little things, those little emotions under which in multi-folds you see all the problems and issues, and sometimes you're just observing them. You don't always have to find a solution to everything, and in the end I would just say few things. Observe whatever is around you, however it is. Empathize with whatever you can. If you can't, it's okay. No, none of us are perfect, and none of us can empathize with everything in the world. Absorb as much positivity, knowledge as you can with everything around you. Do not forget to have fun. Do not lose the fun side of you, because what's the point of doing anything if you're not enjoying, right? Don't procrastinate. Do whatever you have to do. Whatever you have in your mind, just do it. Because to be able to practice design thinking, you don't have a lot of time to think and come up with the best plan ever and do it. You just do it however it comes to you, and then you move forward with it. Be patient. Everything, whatever is happening will one day stop. And just start somewhere. Get inspired. Do whatever makes your heart happy. And good work will follow. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Thanks a lot, Ananya, for sharing your experience and journey for design and research. So, yeah, there are questions, and I will still tell all the students, if you have some questions, please try interacting with Ananya. And there is one of the question which says, since you mentioned about research, and the question is that since there is a lot to research and every time we have a limited time period, so when is the time we should think that, okay, the research is done?
Good question. So the research is, to answer it simply, the research is never done. But you know that there is substantial amount of research. Ask these questions: why, how, where, how much. If these basic questions are being answered in your research, you have to stop there. You have to find a balance between substantial research and what the purpose is. If I'm doing a PhD, my substantial research to somebody who is doing a bachelor's subjects, substantial research would be different. Know your purpose first and then research accordingly. Also, it's very easy to get derailed when you're researching. I'm looking for one topic and then I find something related, interesting, and it's easy that I start reading about it and forgot about what you're doing. So always prepare a brief for yourself. This is what you're looking for. And if you think you're getting derailed, come back to it, have a read at it, and then go again.
Thank you so much. I think Mark has a question for you. Mark, can you go ahead and ask?
Yeah, good afternoon, ma'am.
You can also
Call me ma'am.
So ma'am, we're talking about sustainable futures. So what do you think robots and artificial intelligence can do in the future? Can you please explain in a positive and negative way? Can it take the employment and all?
All right. So now, because I'm not an interactive designer or an engineer or a scientist, whatever I'm going to say would be an opinion and not a fact. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Said that, I think technology is to help humans, and it's up to us how we use technology, what we want to do with it. Do we want to make it productive or do we want to make it destructive? Which comes back to our conversation about what is innovation and what there are different kinds of innovation. All of them are smart, but where does empathy and society comes in play? What do you want to do with it? So it depends. Nobody knows the answer. We'll see in the future what happens with AI.
Yeah.
I hope positively.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Ananya, for answering. Um, there are a few more questions before I move down. Okay, Shashank. Shashank, you please go ahead and ask your question.
Hello, ma'am. Shashank here.
Hi, please, guys, please don't call me ma'am.
And you can switch on your camera so that she can connect with you more.
All right, go for it. Shoot your question.
Ma'am, like in my case, all the time, when I do any project or and I think in a limited time constraint, so at the end of that project, I always think like, there was a lot which can be done. So what do you think like when you do a project in a time constraint, means do you think like there was much more which can be done or you end up finding it the best?
I think now again, this is again an opinionated question, but I think if we think our work is the best, how are we going to improve it? So it's good and it's important that we find mistakes in our own designs and our own work so that we can fix it. There's more to do. There's more to do. There's more to explore. Even after your assignment is done, if you think you did not do well enough, when you read something related to your assignment, you would learn something new. It doesn't have to. It doesn't matter if it was relevant or if it's too late. The process of learning should not stop. So, and that will only happen if you find mistakes in what you're doing.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Definitely.
May I?
Learning is what they're doing these days. Yeah, Amrita ma'am.
Akshita ma'am? Okay. So, hi Ananya. So, it was great going through your talk and like listening to your views and opinions about everything. So I was thinking, since most of our students are from design background, and design, if you say, it's a very vast field. You just cannot specify anything to any particular domain. So what I wanted to ask is like keeping sustainability thing in mind. Be it an interactive designer, be it a fashion designer, be it any designer, they have to keep the sustainability factor in mind, right? So summing up, what will be the general key strategies that you would like to suggest our students that they should keep in mind while they're designing a product, be it digital, be it a physical product, whatever it is? So are there any key strategies?
I think one of the most crucial key strategy is relevancy. Is it relevant to your crowd? Is it relevant to the world? The second thing is, who are you addressing this to? When you make something, it's for you. We're not an artist, we're designers. We make things for people to solve problems. Second question, or second most important thing is, what problem are we solving, or what problem are we addressing rather? Third point is, where do we think sustainability plays in the game? For that, you need to understand sustainability in a more broader sense. Your product might not be sustainable, but your system might be.
Right.
So there are layers to it. It doesn't always mean that you use eco-friendly material and then bam, you're sustainable.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, one more thing I would like to ask you is, like, everybody of us here must be having their own definitions of sustainability. What is sustainability in your view? What is the definition of sustainability as per your perspective? What is
That's a very good question, and you've caught me off guard on that. I think anything that invokes human emotions and it's a very weird answer for this, but I think
okay.
um, that makes your heart feel warm about something. There's just so much going on with world right now, and if anything could make you feel comfortable, safe, um, connected to the world, the environment, the feeling you get when you look at people and you feel that we're all one. It's all of us are together as part of this ecosystem and this earth. That is sustainable to me.
Lovely. That's great. Nice to hear that.
Beautifully explained, Ananya. That's amazing. Okay, please ask everybody to please switch on their cameras. I know I am not, because I'm down with viral and I don't want to do that. But can you all please switch on your cameras?
Ananya, I also want to ask one question.
Yes.
Yeah, so since our students have recently took up the courses, and whether they are from film or maybe from design background, but I think we all want to know that what was when you were working in Bhopal jail with the prisoners, what was your experience? Like, what were the key insights of the research, and how was it? So that they also, whenever our students can take up any project, they also can feel free or feel very challenge, take up the challenge to touch upon the sectors which nobody can touch. They always find a comfort zone and take up the projects which are near to you, but they always afraid of touching the sectors which are not touched. So I would really like you to tell elaborate upon that point, so that they also can feel this, that there is a requirement, or the what were the interesting insights from your experience when you worked with the prisoners.
So this is an first of all, let me say this is an excellent question, and I love it. But unfortunately, the answer to this is not that amazing. To me, this was my home ground. My dad works as a deputy superintendent of jail, and so I've always grown around prisons, and I've seen prison as a kid. So it's not a completely untouched territory for me. But growing up around something controversial, or rather uncommon, which was not a common experience to other people. And I remember going to school as a kid and people asking me, "Tum jail mein rehte ho?" which was a very funny experience. But it did make me think that how we see people in different lights. But at the same time, they're part of a society. So when I was working with them, it was more like, and I've seen, so in every prison in India at least, and especially in Madhya Pradesh, you know how many handicrafts we have around the country, and this is one common practice which has been going on for ages, that these handicrafts are being made by prisoners. So there are prisoners who know how to make it, and then there are ones who don't. And these prisoners who know train the other prisoners. But it's such an organic process that people who are designers and writers, they don't even know about it. It just happens seamlessly, and it's not a big deal. It's not in media. Nobody knows about it. And I thought that if this system could be tapped, of learning from each other and working towards making your life better after seeing something really challenging in your life or facing something challenging. When I was working on this master's thesis, I was in New Zealand and I couldn't come to India during the time period, but I was in constant touch through them with video calls and stuff. So a lot of learning which happened before I started doing the master's.
Okay, got it. So what were the key insights from the anything which you want to share? Any incident with the prisoner, with the master artisan or something? I would not tell them prisoner anymore. I'm not feeling great about it. I'm thinking they are artisans.
So I remember I went to the prison once, and they're working on the handloom, and they were making towels, which DB has an exhibition every year, and these are the people who make these handicraft things and sell. But you don't, of course, see them in DB Mall because they can't be there. But they make these things and then they sell it there. And I started asking him questions and talking to him about how he is doing and everything. And how is he making this? Where did he learn it? Was he always a weaver? And he was telling me about his experiences, and it was such a lovely experience because at some point in the conversation he went and said that I have a daughter who also talks a lot. And then he was telling me about his daughter and what she wants to do in her life, and how he is trying to make a lot of towels, literally just making towels, a lot of them, so that he can save money while being in the prison to marry his daughter. And these are the human stories that when you listen to them, there are so many multifolds to it which you don't even know how to process or think. And
Really amazing, Ananya. Seriously.
Thanks a
Students,
lot. Anyone, Bhavna ma'am, are you saying something?
no, the same thing.
Anyone amongst the students, if you want to ask something, please go ahead.
Hey, Namrita, you have to cut their marks because nobody is switching on their camera.
Yeah.
not in my lecture.
We've got to behave like Indian teachers. Yeah?
No, that's good. Guys, please switch on your cameras.
Also, interact. You have a very good.
And ask any question. See, you can get so many interesting insights from her. Ask anything you want.
Guys, I'm your friend. Do not look at me like this teacher or whatever.
Yes, please. See, even we don't say that to you, right? We cannot. Even if we want to, we cannot say that. At least take this. Yeah, take the opportunity and please go ahead.
Only the mask strategy is working, Super ma'am.
Gosh.
Great. Anyone with any other question? Alvish, Rushi, come on, Saksham, Harsha.
So I want to ask this question on behalf of all of my new UX design students, especially, so the basic challenge is, like even Bhavna asked, that, people want to take up projects which are different and seem different than their usual microenvironments. So how do we sensitize them? Like the first thing is to make people sensitive, and then only they can have the empathy, and then only they can start, undertaking so many challenges which are around them, which are the wicked problems, and you can see through them. So what do you think, according to you, are the things that students, the new students especially, they can do to make themselves more sensitive and more empathetic in some way?
This is an amazing question, but the answer to this is actually quite really simple, according to me. It's just talk to people. We often, as a student, I remember I was in bachelor's not too long ago. In my first year, the most important or the constant thing that I always thought was, is this inappropriate? Can I ask this? Can I talk about this? Is it okay if I ask this? Will I look stupid? Or will I look too much? Don't think about these questions. If you have something in mind, go for it. You never know what conversation might strike, what opportunity. It's about trying something new. It's about not being afraid of asking questions, of looking forward to new opportunities, and maybe, and for example, I know I can talk about prison facilities because I've been around them. People there are always so excited to work with new people, talk to them. The staff, the um, prisoners, they, when you talk to them, you'll be like, "Okay, they're just like new people who are excited to share their stories." So often we feel like this is more complicated in our head because we don't know how to approach it. But sometimes the easiest way is to just go ahead and approach it. But to be able to do that, it's important that we introspect on our own. No class, no teacher in this world can teach you how to ask questions or when to ask questions. Or nobody can teach you to be not afraid. That has to come within you. And it's a constant effort, but it happens. Just be yourself and ask questions, both to the outside world and to yourself.
That's a wonderful answer. Thank you so much. Yes, we totally agree that we tell them to interact, to talk to you, to portray your ideas, and to give your inputs on anything what they feel like. So most of the design classes, especially, are a lot interactive, right? So thank you so much. If anyone has any other question, please go ahead. This is the last opportunity, and then I will close the session. Any of my UX kids, anyone?
Ma'am, may I proceed?
Yeah, okay, Sashank.
Shashank, we want to see you first.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ma'am, I have a problem. Uh, like these days, every day, even a shopkeeper is having its own app, and my phone is just filled with so many apps that I am unable to find out even the file manager. They are so visually similar, and they are just I do a lot of proxies. So, what do you think about the future of the apps? Like website will be replaced by the apps, and what do you think can be the future of the apps?
Maybe you would not need an app after some time. Maybe the artificial intelligence would be enough to answer different questions that different app does, and seems like Google would be the organization who will come up with it. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay, ma'am.
Maybe Shashank, you should find a solution for this now. Being a UX.
There are a few solutions. Like already, I was like learning that Figma, and they had an option like without even downloading, you can use the application. So I thought like that, but still.
Yes, that's known as progressive web applications. So they save on the memory space, and you just have to give you a shortcut, and you just have to click. You don't have to save the apps. So you can just be directed to the website and you can just use it. So it's known as progressive web app.
That's so
That's a
cool.
feature that has come up. Yeah, that is a feature which has come up for, like, you don't have to download the apps really, and it's actually very fast. So to like process it very fast, all the brands, all the companies are coming up with this.
That's amazing. I'm gonna save so much space on my phone if this works out.
Thanks a lot. Avantika, can you yourself ask the question? You're there? Okay, I don't know if her mic has some issue or something. So she has a question on sustainable future aspects having links to UX designing.
I think absolutely it's connected to UX designing, and essentially experience, human experience is connected to sustainable futures, because if there is no future, if there is no sustainability to come, how are we going to, can you hear me? Is it okay?
Yeah.
How are we going to find solutions for human experiences? And the more and more we're moving forward, especially this year, 2020 has been crazy. We have never thought that we would want to use technology so quickly in so many different ways, which essentially is streamlining human experience. And but at the same time, it is connected to how we don't want to go out for health reasons, or you don't want to fall sick. And probably 3 years ago, we would never have thought that the need of sustainability, the need of living, the need of human basic things that we do would have a link or a connection to UX design, UI design, technology. But now we are slowly realizing that it does. So, of course, it has a lot of potential that can be explored and curbed for making sustainable life choices. For example, we use a lot of things that we buy from supermarkets, or things that are not seasonal to a certain country, are have been I'm giving an example of New Zealand because that's what is coming to my mind, on top of my mind. We have this pineapple brand which is very popular, and the pineapples are not from here, they're from somewhere, they're from Philippines, I suppose, but they're being packaged in Havana, I guess. And that pineapple brand stopped, like they don't sell in New Zealand anymore, it doesn't exist. Probably their business got cancelled or something. But what it made you realize is that we don't need those big chains, those big networks that consume a lot of our resources, and how probably ordering, which comes back to UX design, from one particular place, from one particular country, can solve your problem. It does cost you more, but it is costing less to the environment. So these are, and which is also not a perfect solution to the problem, but it's a way forward. And as we discussed earlier, there is no one-way solution to wicked problems. It's a constant process.
Thank you, Ananya, and I hope Avantika, you got the answer for your question. So, with this, I would like to end the session. Before ending the session, like we always do, we want a group picture. So now I think everyone would switch on their camera and we have a screenshot. So please do that. Namrita ma'am, can you help me with the screenshot as well? I'll also take one.
Say
Okay.
smile, say cheese and smile.
I think they are still switching on, so we'll just wait for a second or so.
Sure.
It was amazing talking to you guys. It was such a lovely experience to hear whatever you had to say. And it's beautiful. Do some good work out there. Make us proud.
The session was really very fruitful for them.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ananya, for joining us all the way from New Zealand. I think it's evening right there, or late evening.
It's 10 p.m. now, so yeah,
10
night.
Okay. And we all are like going to rush on to our lunch for now. All of the students will be, and they have classes after that. So, thank you so much for joining us, and we would love to have you on campus whenever you do come to India and Madhya Pradesh. So, we would love to see you.
My parents still live in Bhopal, so if I come to Bhopal, I would love to come and see you guys in person.
That's great. That's great.
Thank you so much, Ananya, for accepting my invite to be here and talk to my students. And it was very insightful for them because, they got to see a variety of things from your work to, whatever is happening internationally. And I'm sure it was a very, very, insightful experience for them. So we would love to have you on campus whenever you're here, goes without saying. And thank you so much for being a part of this. I hope to see you soon whenever things open up and whenever you're back in my city again. In your city, actually.
One more thing. She actually taught me when I was in my first year in NIFT, and over time we became friends. All I want to say, and I think we talk a lot about design, and I love talking to her, and she's an amazing human being. So my point here is that talk to your teachers. They might become your friends. You never know. Talk to them. Until you don't talk to them, you will never know.
Ananya makes me super proud. She was, I still remember her work. Some of what their class was amazing. All of them are doing so well in life, and I'm so proud of them. And one thing was always there, that they were fearless. You give them a project, they go to the depth of the project, and they're fearless. The way they attempt projects was amazing. I don't know, I completely, I want you guys to also learn that one quality, which is to be fearless, to say what you want to say, and to interact, to be, otherwise you cannot learn design. You have to be inquisitive, you have to interact, and there is no right or wrong, right? So
Absolutely.
That's one thing that you should be knowing. Anyway, thank you so much, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Ananya.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for having me.